Courtesy of NBC, I'm trying to think if there's anything cool I can tell you, Justin Hartley tells me Monday afternoon, as our interview winds to a close. It would just blow everything. Truthfully, This is a star, who plays Kevin Pearson on the series and will also appear in A Bad Mom's Christmas next month, had already talked about many cool things, like working out with Sylvester Stallone and being on a group text with his co-stars, including Mandy Moore, Milo Ventimiglia, Sterling K. Brown, and Chrissy Metz. What he can't discuss, though, are juicy spoilers, particularly how his character's father, Jack Pearson Ventimiglia, dies, a central mystery and a detail the cast does know, but is barred from divulging to spoiler-hungry press. By his count, Hartley gets asked for spoilers roughly 30 to 40 times a day, but he doesn't mind. It's when people stop caring, and people stop wondering, he reasons, that one should worry. Because it's hard to get a job acting, I get it too, he adds. I would want to know as well. I'm glad that I know, but also, I'm horrible at keeping secrets, so it's tough. The NBC Weepies' second season premiere garnered sky-high ratings and finished with a big reveal. It appears that Jack died as the result of a house fire. Meanwhile, a clueless, teenaged Kevin was with his girlfriend, and wearing a leg cast. Although Hartley plays coy about the story behind the cast, he will say that viewers are right to be curious about it. It has a lot to do with his storyline this year. It has a lot to do with why Kevin behaves, sometimes, the way that he does. The broken leg is a turning point for Kevin in his life, and something that sort of sticks with him as he gets older. It's paved the way for him to do the things that he's doing. What's Kevin doing this week? Returning to The Manny, the sitcom he quit last season, for a very special episode, which takes a humiliating turn when the Manny showrunner decides to force Kevin to crawl around on all fours in a diaper. When asked his response to this plot twist, Hartley quips that the show's writers are way better writers than they are salesmen. Luckily, his ex-wife and current girlfriend Sophie Alexandra Breckenridge is there to support him, and, ultimately, the incident helps Kevin prove he can be the bigger man. Meanwhile, Randall Brown starts randling out about the prospect of adoption. Luckily, his wife Beth Susan Kelechi Watson talks him down. And Kate Metz, she books her first singing gig, which their mother Rebecca Moore crashes, forcing a somewhat ugly confrontation. The flashbacks, meanwhile, largely focus on Jack's struggle to overcome his alcohol dependency. After more than a decade of keeping his addiction a secret from his kids, Jack realizes he has to let everyone in. Set against Kevin's story, which has emphasized that the younger Pearson, too, is better at taking care of others than he is at taking care of himself, it presents an interesting interrogation of strength, vulnerability, and support. Hartley says Kevin inherited that impulse from his father. That's what he knows. He adds that Kevin lost his father too early to realize that Jack had support of his own. When I was 12, I thought my dad did everything on his own, too, Hartley says. So if you lost your father at that age, and you didn't have the experience of growing older, and getting to know your old man dad, you might just behave that way. There's a sort of broken part of Kevin's, not only his spirit but the way he goes about handling things. It's with great intentions, but he takes on too much. Of all the Pearson kids, Kevin often seems to be the one lost in the shuffle. In this week's installment, most of his family bails on his show's taping for one reason or another before he even takes the stage. Ironically enough, his tendency to get left by the wayside might, at least partially, be thanks to Kevin's insistence on presenting an unshakable front. As Hartley notes, people often assume Kevin is fine, even when he's really lonely. Perhaps now, as he's reconnecting with Sophie and maturing, Kevin will also be able to really cope with his father's death, something Hartley thinks he hasn't really done yet. What's coming up for Hartley's character? As one might expect, he'll continue, as everyone is, to try to move forward after Jack's death, which will be explained by the end of the season. And then there's the show's big upcoming guest slot, Sylvester Stallone as himself. Hartley had actually met Stallone once before they filmed together. They had a quick conversation at the gym. How cool is this? Hartley recalls thinking to himself. I'm working out next to Rocky. He's larger than life, Hartley says of Stallone. And then he puts you at ease and sort of levels everything out, and then you go to work, and then it's just a couple actors doing their thing in a scene. Once Stallone wrapped a full day of filming, Hartley says, he also made sure to thank everyone, including the crew. Once the show clears the mystery of Jack's death, which has consumed so much of the conversation around it, it's anyone's guess what will come next. Hartley knows what happens through the end of the season, but it gets hazier in season 3, which This Is Us has already been renewed for. Here's an ironic twist, though the cast themselves almost leaked the news of Jack's imminent death before the show itself got a chance to. In episode 5, originally, Randall revealed in the pilot that his adoptive father, Jack, was dead. The line got cut ahead of the show's debut on NBC last fall, unbeknownst to the cast, and then the pilot airs, and we start tweeting and texting all kinds of stuff about Jack's death, Hartley said. They had taken it out. So we get a letter from NBC like, don't talk about Jack's death. Nobody knows he's dead. And we're like, yes, he said it in the pilot, and they're like, no, we took that out. I don't know how nobody got in trouble for that, but what are you gonna do? Get Vanity Fair's HWD newsletter, sign up for essential industry and award news from Hollywood. Full-screen photos, 7 TV characters who have gotten stuck on a subway just like you. No tale of 2 girls' misadventures in the Big Apple would be complete without at least one ill-fated subway ride. In Season 3, Abby and Ilana experience just that in an episode titled, appropriately, Getting There. They just want to get to the airport, but as any New Yorker knows, the train has other plans. There's an entire episode of this 90s Nickelodeon staple about Arnold and the gang getting on a subway after dark, thanks to a movie that ran long. There's a claustrophobic woman chanting big open spaces, a homeless guy telling everyone to get out of my house, and a dog that unexpectedly gives birth to puppies, bringing everyone together. The episode ends with everyone holding hands and singing, which, though imaginative, is perhaps the most unrealistic thing this cartoon ever did. Photo from Hulu. What was it with 90s sitcoms and trapping people in trains? Corey, Sean, Eric, and Topanga get stuck underground on their way to a New Year's Eve party as a woman gives birth. But hey, they also manage to throw their own party on the train and find a PSA starring Mr. Feeney. Poor Uncle Jesse just wants to get to his long-delayed high school graduation, but alas, Team Tanner gets stuck on a motionless BART train instead. See, the subway is awful no matter where you live. The silver lining: Jess convinces an aspiring high school dropout to stay in school, and ends up having an underground graduation ceremony of his own. Fun fact: something similar happened to a real-life Hunter College student this summer. This one's an oldie but a goodie. Oscar gets tired of New York City, so Felix tries to show him what a magical place this town can be. Unfortunately, they get stuck in a subway car with some very unfriendly company, including a woman who carries a defective flashlight just so she can hit people over the head with it, should they get too close. She's clearly well-versed in New York etiquette. Photo from CBS. This one isn't technically a subway story, but it's a Golden Girls classic. Remember the time our favorite 4 ladies got stuck at a train station overnight? They recall the incident in a flashback episode called Bedtime Story back in Season 2, remembering how they were stranded by the one train station from which trains actually left early. That's how you know it's fiction. Photo from NBC Getty Images. Remember when poor Elaine gets stuck on a train that just keeps stopping? She also experiences that horror that every New Yorker knows so well: the lights cut out as the train sits motionless. Her silent, internal, vastly relatable screams of profane frustration will forever ring in our ears. Photo from Castle Rock Entertainment Everett Collection.